Dear listeners, a new day and a new story to discuss. Today I'm going to tell you a story that interests me. Listen and write down what you think about this situation. I'm interested in your opinions. Look, I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. I've always been a straightforward guy, not much for the fancier side of things. But what happened? Well, it's something straight out of one of those gritty novels where you think you know the guy narrating, but by the end, you're questioning everything. My name? Lucas Hartman. And this mess? It's my life unraveling thread by painstaking thread. It began on a Thursday that felt like any other. Work had been the usual grind, sawdust in the air, the hum of machinery my constant companion. But that evening, as I sat at my usual spot at O'Malley's, nursing a bourbon that burned just right, the world as I knew it started to crumble. You know, Lucas, you look like hell, quipped Mike, the bartender, sliding another drink my way with a knowing look. Ah, just the weight of the world, Mike. Nothing a good drink can't fix, I responded, attempting a smile that felt more like a grimace. The truth was, things with Angela had been tense, like a guitar string pulled too tight, ready to snap. And snap it did, but not in any way I could have prepared for. I downed the bourbon, the liquid fire doing little to ease the cold dread creeping up my spine. It was then she walked in. Not Angela, no. This woman was a stranger, yet there was something familiar in her stride, her gaze scanning the room until it landed on me. She made her way over, each step measured, her heels clicking against the wooden floor like a countdown. Mr. Hartman? Lucas Hartman? Her voice was steady, but there was an undercurrent of something I couldn't quite place. That's me. Can I help you? I asked, wary. I'm afraid I have some information that might be of interest to you. It's about your wife, Angela. The world seemed to pause, the background noise fading into a distant hum. What about her? I managed, my voice steady despite the tumultuous storm of emotions within. She's been seen around town with someone. Not just anyone, Lucas. With someone who, well, it's not my place to say over a bar table. But you should look into it. The stranger's words hit me like a freight train. Anger, confusion, and a piercing sense of betrayal mingled as I tried to process what she was implying. My Angela? It couldn't be. I think you've got the wrong guy. My Angela wouldn't, but the woman cut me off, her gaze piercing. I wish I were mistaken, Lucas.
I truly do.
But I've seen them together, more than once. It's why I came to you. You seem like a decent man, and you deserve to know. With that, she left, disappearing into the crowd as suddenly as she had appeared. I sat there, the weight of her words anchoring me to the spot. The bourbon no longer held any appeal. The next few hours were a blur. I remember stumbling out of O'Malley's, the night air crisp against my skin, a stark contrast to the turmoil boiling inside me. My steps led me on autopilot to the place I least wanted to go but needed to confront the most, home. The house was dark, silent, as if it were holding its breath, awaiting the storm. I found Angela in our bedroom, the soft glow of her bedside lamp casting shadows across her face. Angela, we need to talk, I began, my voice betraying none of the chaos swirling inside me. She looked up, her expression unreadable. Lucas, what's wrong? It's late, and you're scaring me. How could you? The words spilled out, raw and accusing. I know about him. The other man. Angela's face paled, her eyes widening in shock, or was it guilt? Lucas, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no one else. But the conviction I had hoped to see, the indignation of being wrongfully accused, wasn't there. Instead, there was a hesitation, a flicker of something that confirmed my worst fears. The conversation that followed was a tempest of denials, half-truths, and revelations that tore through the fabric of our marriage. Each word from Angela was a hammer blow, dismantling the life we had built, piece by shattered piece. By the time dawn crept through the curtains, casting a pale light on the wreckage of our relationship, I knew nothing would ever be the same. The illusion of our happy life together was just that, an illusion now shattered beyond repair. And me? I was left sifting through the ruins, wondering how I'd ever missed the signs, how I'd been so blind. But there was no turning back. The journey ahead was one I'd have to walk alone, a path paved with the remnants of a love turned lie. The dawn after that tumultuous night brought no solace, only the heavy burden of reality. My mind was a battleground of doubt and denial, yet the truth, as elusive as it seemed, beckoned with a grim promise of clarity. I knew what I needed to do. The path to uncovering the extent of Angela's betrayal was murky, but I was determined to tread it, regardless of the pain it would unearth. I started where all quests for the truth seem to, these days, the digital world. Angela's phone, once an open book between us, now felt like Pandora's box, brimming with secrets and lies. My fingers hesitated over the screen, the weight of my impending actions heavier than the phone itself. Unlocking it, I was plunged into a morass of messages, emails, and calls, each entry a thread in the tangled web of Angela's other life. It wasn't just texts or calls. There were photos, too, each one a dagger. But it was a series of messages that caught my eye, exchanges with a name I didn't recognize but whose intimacy with Angela was unmistakable. "Lucas, what are you doing?" Angela's voice, sharp with accusation, cut through the silence like a knife. I turned, phone in hand, to face her. "Looking for the truth, Angela. Something you seem to have a hard time with." Her eyes darted to the phone, fear and something akin to regret flashing across her face. "You invaded my privacy. Those are nothing. Just conversations." "Conversations don't look like this, Angela. Who is he?" I demanded, my voice a mix of anger and desperation. She tried to snatch the phone, but I pulled away. "It's not what you think, Lucas. Please, let me explain." But the time for explanations was past. The digital evidence was damning, irrefutable. Yet, it was the cold, hard reality of Angela's deceit that stung the most. I needed more answers, answers she wasn't willing to give. The next step was confronting the other man, a task that filled me with a righteous fury. Armed with the knowledge of their frequent rendezvous at a local cafe, I staked out the spot, a plan forming with every passing minute. The cafe was bustling, a cacophony of chatter and the clatter of dishes. Then he walked in, confident, unaware of the storm about to break. I watched as he took a seat, his gaze lingering on the door, anticipation evident. It was now or never. Approaching his table, I felt every eye in the place on us, an audience to the drama unfolding. "You must be the man who's been seeing my wife," I stated, more than asked, my voice deceptively calm. He looked up, surprise etching his features before a mask of indifference settled. "And you are?" "Her husband. The one she forgot to mention?" The conversation that followed was a volley of accusations and denials, his words slick with the ease of a practiced deceiver. Yet, for all his smooth talking, the truth was clear. Angela's affair wasn't just a fling. It was a betrayal of everything we had built together. Leaving the cafe, the reality of my situation settled in with a weight that was suffocating. But there was one more thread to pull, one more truth to uncover: Angela's why. It was a question that haunted me, the answer to which I feared more than the betrayal itself. Confronting Angela again, this time with the irrefutable proof of her infidelity, was like navigating a minefield of emotions. Why, Angela? Was it not enough? What we had, what we built together. Her tears were no consolation, her apologies a hollow echo of our broken vows. "I don't know, Lucas. I was lost, and he was there. It was a mistake." "A mistake?" I echoed, the word bitter on my tongue. Our life, our family, and you throw it away for a mistake? The conversation spiraled, a maelstrom of grief, anger, and betrayal. Yet, for all the words exchanged, the chasm between us only widened, a gulf too vast to bridge with mere apologies or regrets. In the end, I was left with more questions than answers, the truth unraveling the life I thought I knew thread by thread. Angela's betrayal was a wound that ran deep, a scar that would mark the beginning of a journey I never expected to take. And as I stepped out into the storm, the rain a fitting backdrop to the turmoil within, I knew that this was just the beginning. The path to understanding, to healing, was a road paved with pain and uncertainty. But it was a road I had to walk alone. The unraveling of my marriage to Angela wasn't just an emotional freefall. It was a descent into a world I never knew existed beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect life. With every truth uncovered, I found myself plunging deeper into a rabbit hole of deception and heartache. I had moved out of our shared home, the walls now echoing memories too painful to face. My new apartment was a stark, unfurnished space, a tangible reflection of the void within me. But it was there, amid the solitude, that I resolved to seek the full extent of Angela's betrayal, to understand the why behind her actions, even if it meant confronting more demons than I was prepared to battle. One evening, as I sifted through the remnants of our shared life boxed up and stacked against the wall, I found an old laptop. It was one Angela had used before we got her a new one last Christmas. Booting it up felt like opening Pandora's box, each click a step further into the unknown. I was not prepared for what I found. Emails and documents painted a picture of a life double-lived. Secret accounts, cryptic meetings, and, most shockingly, evidence of financial infidelity that went beyond our personal sphere into her professional life. My heart raced as I pieced together the evidence of a massive fraud she was involved in at her company. This wasn't just personal betrayal, it was criminal. "Lucas, you need to stop this." The voice startled me, pulling me away from the screen. It was my brother, Nathan, standing in the doorway, concern etched on his face. I shook my head, my focus unwavering. "I can't, Nate. Look at this." I gestured to the screen. "She's not just cheating. She's involved in something illegal." Nathan approached, his eyes scanning the documents on the screen before meeting mine. "Lucas, this is serious. You could get dragged into this mess if you're not careful." But caution was a luxury I could no longer afford. "I need to know the extent of this, Nate. I need to understand why." The decision to confront Angela about her professional deceit was fraught with tension. I found myself outside her office the next day, the weight of the laptop in my bag feeling like a millstone around my neck. Seeing her after weeks felt like gazing at a stranger. "Angela, we need to talk. Now." Her eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed in suspicion. "Lucas, this isn't a good time. It's about the fraud, Angela. The one you're involved in." The color drained from her face, a ghostly pallor taking its place. "How did you?" "I know everything, Angela. And we're going to fix this." The conversation that followed was a blur of denials, accusations, and desperate pleas. Angela tried to downplay her involvement, but the evidence was irrefutable. The descent into this abyss of betrayal and deceit was complete, but I was determined to climb out, to salvage what remained of my integrity, if not my heart. In the days that followed, I found myself enmeshed in a web of legal consultations, late-night research, and soul-searching. Nathan stood by me, a pillar of support in a sea of uncertainty. "You're doing the right thing, Lucas," he assured me one evening as we pored over legal documents and strategies to expose the fraud without implicating myself further. "I wish I felt confident about that, Nate. It feels like I'm dismantling the life we built with my own hands." He clapped a hand on my shoulder, his gaze steady. "You're dismantling a lie, Lucas. And you'll build something real from the rubble." The legal battle that ensued was a testament to the depth of Angela's deceit. Courtrooms became battlefields, each hearing a clash of truths and lies. Angela, for her part, seemed a shadow of the woman I had loved, her defenses crumbling under the weight of her actions. Through it all, the descent into this nightmarish reality revealed a strength in me I never knew existed. With each revelation, each setback, I found a resilience, a determination to rise from the depths of this betrayal, to reclaim a sense of self long buried under the debris of a shattered marriage. And as I stood outside the courtroom on the day of the final hearing, the verdict a bittersweet victory, I realized that the descent was not just a journey into darkness. It was a passage through fire, one that burned away the illusions of the past, forging a path to a future uncertain but unfettered by lies. The road ahead was long, the wounds still fresh, but I stepped forward, out of the shadow of the descent, into the light of a new dawn. Emerging from the chaos of revelations and legal battles was like stepping into a clearing after a storm. The devastation was evident, but so was the path forward. My brother Nathan and I had become strategists in our own right, plotting a course through the aftermath with a single goal in mind: redemption. Not just for me, but for the shattered pieces of my life that still held value. Nathan was hunched over his laptop when I walked into the living room, our makeshift command center. "Lucas, you've got to see this," he called out, beckoning me over. "What is it?" I asked, leaning over his shoulder to gaze at the screen. "I've been digging into the company Angela was involved with, the one behind the fraud. There's a whistleblower program, Lucas. If we can provide enough evidence, not only could you be exonerated, but you might also be rewarded for exposing them." The idea was a beacon in the darkness, a tangible action I could take to reclaim some semblance of control. "Let's do it. What do we need?" Nathan outlined the plan with precision, each step calculated to protect my involvement while ensuring the evidence we provided was irrefutable. We needed documents, communications, anything that could tie Angela and her accomplices directly to the fraud without implicating me in the process. The first step was the hardest: securing the evidence. Returning to our once shared home to gather documents felt like walking back into the lion's den. Angela was away, her absence a small mercy as I sifted through papers and files, the remnants of our life together now pieces of a puzzle we were desperately trying to solve. "I've got it, Nate," I whispered into the phone, my voice barely concealing the triumph and trepidation that coursed through me. "I found emails, documents, everything we need." "Good. Now get out of there, Lucas. We'll meet at my place to sort through everything." The drive to Nathan's was a blur, my mind racing with the possibilities that lay ahead. Were we really about to expose one of the biggest frauds the city had seen? The weight of the evidence in the passenger seat felt like a bomb ready to detonate, each document a testament to Angela's betrayal and the depth of her deception. Poring over the evidence, Nathan and I were like detectives piecing together a crime scene. Each email, each transfer record, was another nail in the coffin of the company's fraudulent activities. We worked through the night, fueled by coffee and the burning need for justice. With the dossier of evidence compiled, the next step was reaching out to the authorities. The meeting with the federal agents was set in a nondescript coffee shop, a neutral ground that belied the significance of our exchange. The agents were stoic, their expressions giving nothing away as we handed over the documents. "This is substantial," one of them finally said, breaking the silence. "If what you're providing leads to convictions, you're looking at a significant reward under the whistleblower program." The gravity of the situation was not lost on me. We were not just exposing a crime. We were setting the stage for a reckoning. "It's not about the money," I found myself saying. "It's about doing the right thing." As the agents left with the evidence, Nathan and I sat back, the adrenaline slowly ebbing away. "What now?" he asked, his voice low. "Now, we wait." "We did everything we could," I replied, the exhaustion of the past weeks finally catching up to me. But as we stepped out into the morning light, the city awakening around us, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't felt in a long time: hope. The plan was in motion, a chain reaction that would either lead to redemption or further ruin. Yet, for the first time in what felt like forever, I was ready to face whatever came next, fortified by the truth and the unwavering support of the brother who had stood by me through the darkest of times. The days following our meeting with the federal agents were a study in contrasts, a mix of anxious waiting and frenetic preparation. Nathan and I knew that exposing the fraud was just the first step in a journey that promised to be fraught with peril. Yet, there was a part of me that relished the thought of Angela and her cohorts facing the consequences of their actions. One chilly morning, the phone call that would change everything finally came. "Mr. Hartman, we've begun the investigation based on the information you provided. We'd like you to come in for a formal statement." The agent's voice was crisp, professional, and it sent a shiver down my spine. Sitting in the sterile room at the federal building, recounting the details of Angela's betrayal and the fraud, felt surreal. The agents listened intently, their pens scratching notes that would seal the fate of those involved. "You've done a courageous thing, Mr. Hartman," one agent said as we concluded. "Justice will be served." The drive home was silent, the weight of my actions settling in. I had set in motion events that could not be undone, and the anticipation of their unfolding was both exhilarating and terrifying. It wasn't long before the news broke, the scandal erupting across the media like wildfire. Angela's name was splashed across headlines, her image broadcasted as the face of corporate greed and betrayal. The public outcry was immediate and unforgiving. Yet, as I watched her world unravel, a hollow victory began to take shape. The revenge I had sought, the justice I believed we were owed, felt tainted by the spectacle it had become. "Lucas, have you seen the news?" Nathan's voice was tight when he called. "It's everywhere. Angela, she's being vilified." "I've seen it," I replied, my voice flat. The satisfaction I had imagined this moment would bring was absent, replaced by a complex tapestry of emotions I couldn't fully understand. The legal proceedings were swift, the evidence we provided irrefutable. Angela and her associates were found guilty, their sentences a testament to the gravity of their crimes. Yet, watching her being led away in handcuffs, the woman I once loved now a pariah, I felt no joy. The weeks that followed were a blur of introspection and reckoning. The reward money from the whistleblower program was substantial, a bittersweet windfall that felt like blood money in my hands. Nathan and I discussed what to do with it at length, ultimately deciding to donate a significant portion to charity. One evening, as I sat alone in my apartment, the walls adorned with shadows cast by the fading light, a knock at the door jolted me from my reverie. Standing in the hallway was Angela's mother, her eyes weary with unshed tears. "Lucas, can we talk?" Her voice was barely above a whisper, the lines of grief etched deep in her face. I hesitated, the desire for closure warring with the remnants of anger. Finally, nodding, I stepped aside to let her in. The conversation that followed was a journey through the past, through pain and betrayal, to an understanding I hadn't known I needed. "Angela made her choices, Lucas. But the cost? The cost has been too high for all of us." Her voice broke, the sorrow palpable. As she left, her parting words lingered in the air, a solemn reminder of the price of revenge. "Seeking justice is right, Lucas. But remember, the path of vengeance leads to a loneliness that justice never intended." Sitting in the silence of my apartment, the truth of her words settled over me like a shroud. The price of revenge had been exacted not just on Angela, but on me, on all of us connected to this tragic saga. The hollow victory had left a void, a realization that true justice is not found in the suffering of others, but in the healing that comes from forgiveness and the strength to move forward. As the clock ticked on, marking the passage of time and the beginning of a journey towards redemption, I knew the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges. But it was a road I was now ready to walk, armed with the lessons learned from the depths of despair and the price of revenge. In the aftermath of the storm, the wreckage of my past life lay scattered, a testament to the tumultuous journey I had endured. But amidst the ruins, a new path was emerging, one that beckoned me towards a future filled with possibility. The horizon, once obscured by the dark clouds of betrayal and revenge, now glowed with the promise of a new beginning. Nathan and I stood at the edge of the pier, the early morning sun casting a golden hue over the water. The air was filled with the salty tang of the sea, a reminder of the vast, uncharted waters that lay ahead. "Lucas, are you sure about this?" Nathan's voice carried a mixture of concern and support. "It's a big step, leaving everything behind." I turned to him, a sense of peace settling over me. "I've never been more certain of anything, Nate. It's time for me to start anew, to build something from the ground up, something real and true." He nodded, understanding flickering in his eyes. "Then I'm with you, every step of the way." Our plan was simple yet bold. With the whistleblower reward, we had the means to embark on a new venture, one that combined our skills and passions. We were going to start a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping those affected by corporate fraud, to offer support and guidance to those who, like us, had been caught in the crossfire of others' greed. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Meetings with lawyers, accountants, and potential partners filled our schedules, each step forward a building block in the foundation of our new endeavor. One particular meeting stood out, a chance encounter that would prove fortuitous. We met with Maya, a young woman whose expertise in nonprofit management was matched only by her passion for justice. "Your story is incredible," Maya said, her eyes alight with enthusiasm. "The work you're planning could make a real difference in people's lives. I'd love to be a part of it." Her joining our team felt like the final piece of the puzzle falling into place, a sign that we were on the right path. As the organization began to take shape, I found myself drawn to the sea. The vast expanse of water, with its endless horizons, became a source of inspiration and reflection. It was there, walking along the shoreline, that I encountered Eliana. Eliana, with her wild curls and laughter that echoed the joyous chatter of the waves, was like a beacon in the fog. Our meeting was serendipitous, a shared moment of awe at the beauty of the sunrise. "You have a look of a man on the cusp of a great adventure," she remarked, her gaze meeting mine. I smiled, the first genuine smile in what felt like ages. "I suppose I am. Starting over, building something meaningful." Eliana's interest in our mission was immediate and profound. She, too, had felt the sting of injustice, her family's lives upended by corporate malfeasance. Her perspective and insights added depth to our endeavor, transforming it from a mere project into a crusade. Together, with Nathan, Maya, and now Eliana, we worked tirelessly. The launch of our nonprofit was met with overwhelming support, stories of those we aimed to help pouring in, each one a reminder of the impact we were beginning to make. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of orange and pink, Eliana and I sat on the beach, the gentle waves lapping at our feet. "Look at how far you've come, Lucas," she said softly. "From the ashes of your past, you've risen, creating hope not just for yourself, but for others. It's truly inspiring." Her words, imbued with warmth and admiration, struck a chord within me. For so long, I had been defined by my past, by the actions of others. But now, as I gazed at the horizon, where the sea met the sky in a perfect line of endless possibilities, I realized that I had finally stepped out of the shadows. This new horizon, vast and filled with promise, was mine to explore. With Eliana by my side and my unwavering team behind me, the future was a canvas waiting to be painted with the colors of hope, justice, and redemption. And as the first star appeared in the twilight sky, I made a silent vow to never look back, to move forward with courage and conviction, for in the journey towards healing and renewal, I had found not just purpose, but home.